And sometimes it's not even so much about sharing what you've earned. It's about sharing your time. It's about sharing a selfless decision, even if it's for something that doesn't seem important, you know, like baking a cake. You wouldn't think baking a cake was life or death. Yet as I contemplate on it and I imagine, I don't know how many people brought stuff in that day or how many people bought stuff that day or whatever. I don't, but I know that there must have been persons out there with families, man, woman, probably children as well, who went home and made a conscious choice to do instead of not to do. And each single one of them is the foundation for the fact that right now, 2 children's lives have been saved.
Now you and I can get together. Let it start a revolution. Change the world to what it should be. And forget all this confusion.
Hey guys, so I am on the uphill climb, shall we say, to improvement at the peak. So I'm feeling strong, and yesterday I made a video which I think around about 50 of you watched before I took it down, about synchronicity and how it's been heavily involved in me getting better. But I took it down because I didn't feel like I quite did justice to the topic, so that's why I took it down. Today I want to make a little video about something, as I've got time to really, I do a lot of meditating and contemplating in life. I always have. I've always been a deep thinker, shall we put it. And something's gone on whereby, this happens a lot, but it's just because I've got time to contemplate on it. I see something so profound, and how sharing our time and making decisions in the moment to take action or not can have profound consequences across the spectrum of life in ways that we can't imagine. Now recently, an architecture firm from the northeast of England have done a fundraiser for the Children's Fund. Now, all they did was a bake sale. Now I'm saying all they did, it's a lot of hard work to bake a cake and so on and so forth. But instead of looking at it as this collective entity, I contemplated on each individual person, and I tried to imagine them. For all I don't know these people, bar one, my brother works there, hence why they did it. But I tried to imagine all these people, and they come home from work and they go to spend time with their families, and they have a choice they can make. They can go and bake a cake and spend some time doing that, or they can spend time at the supermarket getting the ingredients, or quite simply they cannot. And I had this vision in my head of certain persons who I don't know, I've never met them, but I just imagine people going home and being in their kitchen with their family and saying, oh, there's the charity bake sale. I don't know if I've got the energy to bake this cake. I don't know if I can be bothered. I need to go to the shop and get this to bake the cake. Maybe I'll just leave it till next year. And this idea that people might bow out and say, I'm not going to do that actually, sort of thing. I'm just make that decision in the moment because life is doing whatever it's doing. What difference can my cake make, sort of thing. And this is often how we feel here in the West when it comes to fundraising, and I think as well when it comes to sharing. But thankfully a lot of people did say, let's bake some cakes. And it's not a huge job to do. It can be quite pleasurable for many people to do that. Now here's the thing. I didn't have the money for operations for 2 children. Those 2 children have hydrocephalus. Hydrocephalus is where the cerebrospinal fluid, something I talk about in my spiritual videos actually, ironically, the cerebrospinal fluid can't leave and overproduces and collects inside the brain. And you'll have seen children on the channel like this before. Their heads get larger and larger. And I've actually got 3 children with hydrocephalus, is the condition's name. In our guardianship, I actually have 3 that we care for who have hydrocephalus. And the operation involves putting a drain or a shunt here and then you press it, and this releases the fluid down into the body and allows the child to relieve the pressure and the headaches and all of these problems that they face. I didn't have the money. And children like that, more often than not, die. When we visit the intensive care unit at the local hospital, every single time the doctors rush to us because we're the only NGO in the area who goes in and says, who can we pay for? Because we won't take one of our children in, or we won't go and see another child without helping the ones around us. And I remember going in there and there were 3 children, and a junior doctor told us these 3 children, they're waiting here to die. Because without the money to pay for their operations, that's what will happen to them. We didn't have it, quite simply. I have had to do everything I've done with the new children's home and so on and so forth. I didn't have the money, so I was praying about it, as were the staff and the parents of these children. Because those people, one by one, made a decision to bake cakes and cookies and cupcakes, they raised over £600. The children's operations, needless to say, have been paid for, and they will get relief from their pain, and it will extend their lives for as long as possible, and they will have a comfortable and loved life. They are loved by their parents, and that's what's important. Some of the children are with this condition. There are not many adults with this condition, but you can at least relieve the pain whilst they are here blessing our world with their presence. And I got to thinking of those people, how today they're at work and they don't think anything of it. They don't think anything of the fact that they baked a cake. It's just another fun day at work doing the charity. I'm sure for some they might see it, and I'm going to send an email to the company to explain what the money was spent on. But those individual people, in each individual moment with their own lives to live, made a choice to do something that seems quite insignificant inside the West, but equated to 2 children's lives having access to life-saving surgery where I live in East Africa. Cakes, a bake sale, saving the lives of 2 children. It's a beautiful thing when you think of the people who make all of you, and I often have thought of this, but when you just think of the times all over the world at thousands of different times, people have been sat at a computer and something has compelled their heart or compelled their soul, perhaps it's God, an angel, the compassion for the children, and they make their way through the website and they press share. And then that comes across the bridge which God and I have built with the charity and everything, and I can distribute it to where it's needed, as charity should be. It doesn't go spinning off into advertising revenue and into paying a CEO. It comes over the water and goes where it's required. All because people make individual decisions in the moment. And it's a little bit like the concept of the butterfly effect that a butterfly flaps its wings on one side of the world and creates a storm on the other side. Of course, we know enough about science to say that's not true, but isn't it strange that that effect exists? That someone baking some cakes or some biscuits or someone buying them, or someone buying an extra one to take home for a family to try out or whatever it might be. Something that we perceive to be a simplistic aspect of our everyday life, and we're unconsciously, whilst we're doing it, saving the life of 2 innocent children. We're working our way through the internet, through YouTube, and we see some children we feel compassion towards and we click the share button. All of you who have over the years. And you change their lives. And this is where I'm better off than you, because I see it. I can go, when I get back to Tanzania, and I can go see the children. And I can go and see how their progress is, and I can go and see the father and often see the teary eyes of gratitude in the parents. I feel it, I experience it, and it touches me constantly. And all I can do is try to convey it by being as open and truthful in my social media interactions as possible to show you the impact that it has. And sometimes it's not even so much about sharing what you've earned. It's about sharing your time. It's about sharing a selfless decision, even if it's for something that doesn't seem important, you know, like baking a cake. You wouldn't think baking a cake was life or death. Yet as I contemplate on it and I imagine, I don't know how many people brought stuff in that day or how many people bought stuff that day or whatever. I don't, but I know that there must have been persons out there with families, man, woman, probably children as well, who went home and made a conscious choice to do instead of not to do. And each single one of them is the foundation for the fact that right now 2 children's lives have been saved. And I think so long as charity and sharing and service to others can be transparent, as I'm trying to do, and I'm trying to work out how we can do it on a larger scale, and I think I've got ideas on how to do it. If this keeps growing as it is, I think I've got ideas on how to keep it as interactive as possible. Then I think this is the future, because people have had enough of nameless, faceless charity pots and there's too many horror stories of where the money's going. But meanwhile, for people like myself, it's okay saying let's not give to charities because they're doing that. But for someone like I, who's been to Africa and seen the child labourers and has 50 disabled kids in their care and has seen all the stuff you don't want to see, caused by poverty and caused by lack of education and so on and so forth, and inequality, then it's not an option to just not give. The option has to be to solve the problem. And solving the problem is transparency and truth. And this is, I hope, if anything, what Share Tanzania will be. I think we are one of the most transparent starting points for the way charities can operate. I am the director of more than 80 staff, and I'm trying my best to interact daily with you all and let you know what's going on. I haven't been able to as much as I like, but that's humanly not possible. But that's why I'm saying we're working stuff out. Because I think if transparency is important as I think it is, then people will be more willing to share. But ultimately this video was supposed to be about one thing. The choices we make in each individual day can have profound effects all over the world without us realising it. The choice we make when we go to the supermarket and spend our money. You're casting a vote every time you lay down £1 at the checkout. Every time you buy something online, you're casting a vote for the direction that humanity will go. And every time you choose to do something not for yourself, for instance, baking a cake for a bake sale, you have no idea the impact you can make when you choose to do these things. Our society is really elevated very high compared to these other societies that I live within and work with. And that is evident when 2 children whose lives would have been lost because the government had no resources for them, the community had no resources, the family, the parents had no resources for them. 2 children's lives have just been saved because some people took it upon themselves from their own free time to bake some goods and sell them at work. And what will have been a fun day for all, I'm sure, and perhaps strenuous for others, has resulted in 2 lives being saved and a lot of pain and suffering in these small children's lives being eradicated. As I always say, sharing can, and it does, change lives. I know, I've seen it for nearly 5 years now. So to everybody who makes those decisions while you're on your own to click share or to do something, or to start a fundraiser, or to climb Kilimanjaro, as two people, as last year we had some, and two people have just done it recently as well from Scotland for us, then we loved you. How could we say anything more than that? We're eternally grateful and we love you. Because you make that decision. You make their lives livable. And I just love that life is so complex and so simple, that someone makes a choice here now in a moment, and a week later it saves a life. Like I say, all them people could have easily said, oh, I'm not baking a cake, I can't be bothered. But they didn't. So, okay. That's all anyway. God bless, guys. Bye.
Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe, as it really helps us to grow the channel and with it help more children here in Tanzania. Also, don't forget you can support our work by sharing with children in crisis here, be it sharing for a particular need or even sharing one-on-one support for education, housing, food and medical care. It can be done for as little as the cost of a cup of coffee a week back in the West after all. Just visit www.sharetanzania.co.uk to find out more. Lastly, remember you can also support us via Patreon, www.patreon.com/featherstail, and help keep us here in Tanzania to continue our work. The links for the website and for the Patreon are in the description box of this video. Love and light, guys. See you soon.